this is not an AA meeting, and today we'll be reading a passage from the Big Book on page 164, right before the personal stories start. 164, the middle of the page. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. All right, that's it.
Great, thank you. Well, obviously, this is the last two paragraphs of the text. And yeah, it's just obvious, the meaning of the words. But we realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. You can change the word God, doesn't matter. Ask it, him, she. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come. And these conditions will come also. You won't be having to pray for a condition. You'll be in the habit of living from that condition. Yeah. Yeah. After a while, you don't need to follow the manual of the bicycle. You know how to ride the bike. So, yeah, the answers will come if your own house is in order. Basically, I would just say if you're sober, physically, because, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. I don't agree with that. I believe if you're willing to give it away, you'll have it. Yeah. Because really, what we're thinking we need to have to give away, we are a conduit of that already. It's just how that energy is being used or how it's being directed. So it's not like we're arid and dry of water. It's just something's managing the water that keeps us fucking thirsty. Yeah, and nothing seems to quench that thirst. So this power, I don't believe, is somewhere other than where we are. I just think maybe where we are, we're not accessing it. So let's see where we are. And if you see you may not be where the head says you are, that's the access point. Yeah. And I find the way you can be filled is if you're empty, really. So many, many times I did not think I had something, but I just said yes. And you went out there and you were available for someone, something, and you became the wiser for it, you know, because that's the ultimate or the basic condition. It's reliance on the infinite, which means your moves aren't predicated by the thoughts that are being had by those, you know, around those moves. Yeah. You basically step out and you find the stair appears instead of waiting for the stair to be guaranteed. I feel like you venture into that mental unknown in the reliance of this higher power, and you find you can face life successfully. So the victories build on themselves, yeah? And then you may finally arrive at a condition that was always available, really, but now you're available to it. And isn't that the case? I feel the program is it diminishes a mental condition, which is the bondage of self. And when that gets diminished, something gets enlarged, which is your spiritual condition. Yeah. I don't see how it can go any other way. One goes down, the other goes up. Yeah. Now, I feel it's good to recognize the movements and the tendencies of this idea of self, because self will claim to be the one that's opening itself to God. But isn't that trusting finite self? Yes. And the thing isn't, this isn't about convincing self to trust the infinite. It's either you're trusting finite self or the infinite. You're not going to trust the infinite through finite self. You see it? Yeah. I mean, these things trip us up all the time in the program, because a lot of times at that moment we're not clear, so we can't really provide clear direction. Yeah. So to get a sense of what you are, and an understanding of what you're not, and start having a separation between those two channels, so you're not trying to trust the infinite and actually in the act of trusting finite self. Yeah. This is about not aligning, K Paul with K higher power. It's about diminishing the bandwidth of K Paul, which we can't do, but the program does, and increasing the bandwidth or the range of the higher power. Yeah. The good news is you don't have to do much to increase the range of the higher power. It has infinite range. But if you keep trying to understand it by a finite idea, your higher power is gonna look a lot like you, the you that you're not. So if you're sober, hallelujah. Yeah. If you stay sober, you're gonna enter being in the habit of being sober. And then all sorts of remarkable things follow when you get established in this condition. Yeah, it's described on page 63 and 64, I think. And most of us have gone through those experiences or those transformations or whatever you want to call it. So when we read the book, it may be like a traveling guide, but we've traveled it already. Yes, many of us. We took the suggestions that were offered in this book, and it's allowed us to travel later, and some of us for 36 years, some of us for 36 minutes, 36 days, 36 months, whatever. Yeah. The duration of time isn't based on the quality of the solution. It's based on if you live. If you keep living, you can be sober to 60 years. Yeah. The sobriety doesn't have a finite quality that runs out, so you better use it wisely now. It's going to probably go along with you to your last days. Yeah. I was really impressed when I got into AA in 89, 88 in San Francisco. I got involved. My first meeting that I started to attend was a high noon meeting. And there was a lot of characters in that meeting. And then the AIDS epidemic really started taking a toll. And a lot of people started to die, which who you would see at the meeting. And most of them died sober, which was incredible to me. Yeah. They died sober. They got struck with something. No one, AIDS was a weird thing because you sort of got punished for what you did, but way after you did it. So what the fuck? You didn't have any choice to know better because no one knew better. Yeah. And these people could have had a justified fucking resentment and gone out and used. But most of them I saw died with a lot of fucking integrity and respect. And that was attractive. That was really seeing the program in action, and left a very strong mark on me. And yeah, so you're going to end before sobriety ends. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, this is the famous last two or three paragraphs. You know, like they used to say, our book is meant to be suggestive only. Well, they suggest that you pull the parachute cord if you jump out of the plane. Yeah. It's a suggestion. It may be essential, but it's presented as a suggestion. So it's up to see where you are. Are you have you crossed the line and lost the ability to control your drinking? And when you go out being directed by self, you don't know where you're going to fucking end up. Yeah. And after a while, you'll see a pattern of where you do end up, and you can't fucking make any sense of it. I don't want to go where I keep ending up. That wasn't the point of going out. And this frustration of being driven by something that's not you, yeah, under that misunderstanding, it's very fucking confusing because you feel like you would be out looking out for you. Yeah. And it would promote the best interests of you. But that was never my fucking experience. Yeah. I kept doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's insanity. I don't believe I was insane. I believe I was driven by insanity. I do. I do not believe I was insane and now I'm sane. I could be both or neither. Yeah. I can be both or neither. I don't know exactly what I am, but I do know the book describes us as being driven. I'm all for that. I feel like I'm driven as an action figure. I truly do. And I also believe there seems to be two choices. The better way, as presented in our program, is trusting the infinite. The other way is trusting finite self. They're not the same way. They're two distinct, different ways. Then of what? Of how we can be driven. Yeah. We can be driven by self-seeking, selfishness, da-da-da. And any life run on that shit is hardly going to be a success. Or we can be driven by something else, of what we can contribute to life and being available and present for other people who don't seem to be available and present. Yeah. And just assure them that they are available and present, and they can continue to be available and present. But first and foremost, they've got to stop drinking and using a day at a time. Yeah. Just that one obstacle leads to a lot of other shit. So let's see if we can stay sober and then start taking the suggestions that will groove our life to be driven by a higher power instead of by the lower power. Yeah. Because we're going to be driven. There's no escaping that. Yeah. No escaping that. So, do we have a choice in AA? Yes. Of what's going to drive us? Yes. And therefore, they present our old employer and the old things that have driven us so we can make us a clear recognition through a sober lens that I want to turn my will and life over to the care of something other than self. Yeah. I want something else to drive me. I don't care if the GPS of self keeps playing. I'm not following it anymore. Yeah. I'm just not following. When it tells me to go left, I don't go left. I keep doing what I keep doing. Yeah. Now, is it a nuisance to hear it in the back from the back of the car? Probably. But fuck, it's much better than hearing it as the one who's driving the fucking car. Yeah. So let this power, this program, put it in the back seat where it fucking belongs. Yeah. And then surrender your life to be driven by something greater than self. Yeah. So recognize what you're not, and you'll be driven by what you truly are, which is spirit, instead of being driven by the mental condition. I mean, fuck. Your life just gets smaller and smaller, and you get to be alone and right, have tons of justified grievances. They're like open sores. Yeah. You keep pouring something in it that makes it worse. Yeah. So, yes, the first 164 pages are the text of this book. Follow them with someone else. Yeah. Go to book studies. If you ever get a chance, listen to Joe and Charlie tapes. Get some kind of understanding, because a lot of people in AA are fucking people. Yeah. They may have other agendas. They may have different ideas. You got to find what works with you. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, except shrink it to a day at a time. Yeah. And if you can't stay sober, ask someone to help you stay sober. At least recognize the elephant in the room. It is not the rehab you're in that is the problem. It's what brought the necessity of being in a rehab. That's the problem. Yes? Where you end up is not the fucking problem. It seems to be how you end up there, what drives you there is the problem. And AA has a way of neutralizing it a day at a time, so you can go about your life driven by something other than fucking self. Yeah. And you'll never have another day where you think you hate yourself or you're your own worst enemy. You just won't, because you'll see what hated you is foreign to you. What hated you is foreign to you. Yeah. Yeah. You know how much leeway I have because I'm sober? Tons of leeway. I can come to these things. I can entertain insane ideas that are cool to me. It's given me a liberation from the need to have to be liberated every day. Yeah. It's freed me to accept the ordinariness of what's being presented and see some joy and glory in it, instead of always trying to have the next big fucking thing. Yes. You may have an amazing life and it may not look amazing at all. Or you can try to make everything look amazing and be bored fucking stiff. Yeah. So, yep. We're here Tuesdays, Thursdays, 10:30, 11:30, as long as we're capable. There's a group of us that help set up this platform and keep the platform available. And if you find some meaning and some inspiration here, drink it, man. Drink it. You can drink as much as you fucking want. There's tons of YouTube videos and everything else. Just, you need a beachfront set. You need to have that defense against the first drink. You need that bit of sanity to return, and then see where you're at and where you're going. But most of us are living under the shadow of a giant elephant in the room when you're actively involved with getting loaded and getting drunk. Yes. You can't turn around and look at it. You represent it. Yeah. You're not going to see the elephant in the room You are the elephant in the room at that moment. Yes? Stop looking for an elephant. It's you, seemingly. And the great news is it's not you, but it's definitely looking through your eyes and using your head to tell you what it wants you to do. Yeah, so thanks, Ben. So happy to be here. Another day in sobriety. Yeah, beautiful. The paint never dries. It's always moving. Yeah. The clear picture is a verb. It's always moving. Things are being revealed. Things are being understood. Yeah. Things come and go. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I don't see any hands up so far. If anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hands.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
Nope, no one.
Well, great. I want to go to another page then, all right? If everyone has a book, let's go to the page 53 in We Agnostics. Yeah. 53, the bottom of it. The first sentence has to do with the previous paragraph, so it doesn't mean much without that context, but just listen through it, all right? So, that was natural, but let us think a little more closely. I would change the think to look a little more closely. So I don't think thinking uh uh thinking has a sense of already knowing when it's blind to what it's seeing. I'm not a big believer in thinking, really. But let's say looking. So but let us look a little more closely without knowing it. This is a condition many of us are in a lot of the day without knowing it. Had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. Now, he's not being specific about a place that you're standing on and what brought you there. I mean, the bringing you there. It just says, without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. What? Yeah. Certain kind of faith. Not of faith, meaning it says of faith, not of faith. It's very important you see the OF and not an This is not a thing like Catholicism or whatever. It's of faith, of OF. To where we stood by a certain kind of faith. That's an incredible question they give you, eh? To take a look at without you knowing it, you may have been brought to where you stand right now by a certain kind of faith. What? I thought I was brought by my own, I was brought there by reason. Yeah. By logic, by ambition, by intention. But no, it says faith. Yeah. For did we not believe in our own reasoning? Wow, here you go. So if you think reasoning or your thinking brought you somewhere, it was actually because there was faith in the reasoning that it brought you somewhere. Yeah. Thoughts can't bring you anywhere. Reasoning can't bring you anywhere. Faith in the thoughts and reasoning can bring you somewhere. That's our role. Yeah. We're not the reasoning and we're not thoughts, obviously. But we are faith. Yeah. So he goes here. Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? Each of these are presented as a question, these 4 sentences, each one. So we're meant to take a minute or some time after each sentence, yes? It's not demanding an answer. It's just a sense of speculation or curiosity. So it says, first it said, had we not been brought without us knowing it to where we are by certain kind of faith. The next one is, for did we not believe in our own reasoning? The next one is, did we not have confidence in our ability to think? That's 3. The next one is, what was that but a sort of faith? So 4 questions in a row. I think everyone, if we don't have anyone sharing here, let's take a minute or two, a pause, and answer those 4 questions. Yeah. Let me finish and then we'll go back there. Yes, we had been faithful abjectly. Someone could look up the word abjectly. It's quite definitive, yeah? If someone can help us. What does abjectly mean?
Hi, I'm Kathy, recovered alcoholic.
Yes.
Abjectly means spiritless and servile.
Wow. So you're being driven.
Right.
Spiritless and servile. Wow. Yeah. All right. Yes, we had been spiritless and servile to the God of reason. Wow. That's called bondage of self. Yes. Spiritless and servile would be bondage of self. What's it saying? The bondage of self in this manifestation is bondage of reason. Yes. So through reason, self defeats us. If you follow the formula of recovery, faith in reason has defeated us, has been used to defeat us. Yeah. Abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So I guess we know where the playing God is, that we have to stop playing God is in the God of reason. Eh? So it's the thoughts. So in one way or another, so basically you're always going to find, yeah, if it's one way or another, it means always. So in one way or another, we discovered that faith hadn't been involved all the time. Doesn't say you and me have been involved all the time. We're what's being driven by faith, let's say, yeah? We're like the boot on the Monopoly board. The boot cannot move, can it? But it signifies the place we're at. Yeah, just like it said there, without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith, it sounds like something moving the boot to the Baltic place on Monopoly. Yeah. And then having to rationalize, why the fuck are we at Baltic place again? And when we try to rationalize it, we still find ourselves back at Baltic place. And it's really fucking frustrated. And there's a bar at Baltic place, so we just go to the bar. And then we don't get out of Baltic place, but we do go to jail, usually. And then the Monopoly board has a well-groomed pattern that many of us have played out as the alcoholic boot, yeah? Yet the boot has no propulsion to move. It's being moved. By what? Faith. So what was that but a sort of kindness? Yes. So it ends with that one thing. So in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been involved all the time. Now let's look at, perhaps there's a better way. Yeah. And we'll change the name faith to trust. So the better way is trusting the infinite rather than trusting finite self. Yeah. Reason is a manifestation of self in our life. And self has used reason to defeat us. Yeah. And how we're defeated is by our own faith, by us, that which we are. As Jesus supposedly said a lot, it's done according to your belief. Yeah. So if you just take it away from the specifics of being healed, he probably could have stopped anyone on the street and said, it's done according to your belief, whatever was happening. Yeah. Because it's faith that moves mountains, and it's faith that makes mountains out of molehills. Yeah. So I'm going to turn this faith over to the care of something greater than self. And how that faith is going to be expressed is through my will and life. So I'm going to turn that will and life to the higher power and let the higher power be the wind that blows my sail now, instead of the lower power huffing and puffing and blowing my fucking sail all over the place. Yeah. And actually taking me to the same fucking place most of us go to. Yeah. I thought I was going to Tahiti and I end up in Newark, New Jersey. What the fuck happened? Yeah. Nothing wrong with Newark. I'm just using it symbolically. Yeah. When Newark is heard, you don't think of Tahiti, probably. No. All right. So there is a Tahiti street in Newark, but it doesn't look like anything like Tahiti. All right. So there's something to chew on a little bit, don't you think? Let's ask the question. Without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith? Just check it out. Yeah. Remember a certain place you ended up, or right now? You can do it now, or remember, how did I end up here? It's trying to explain that. All that mystery of how you ended up here, it's explaining right now. This is not from me. This is the big book of recovery. I have not altered this edition. This is not the P.H. Hedderman edition. It's right out of page 53. So how did I end up here? Well, it was by a certain kind of faith, bro. All right, then he goes, for did we not believe in our own reasoning? What got me to go back to that bar that no one was at with the hopes of meeting a beautiful girl and then getting introduced to a Chevy Monte Carlo, getting run over twice? That was reasoning. My body was tired, but my head wasn't. My head said something was going to go on, a great party was going to erupt, and it wasn't true. But that reasoning, the faith in those thoughts, got me back in the car, and then I met the Chevy Monte Carlo. It didn't know it met me, so it backed up over me. So I met it twice. I've met a lot of things that have came and went, but that left a tattoo on me for 40 years now. So, all right, so that's the answer there. Did I not believe in my own reasoning? Go through your own history and check out. Did you believe something was going to happen that didn't? Or something was happening that wasn't? Like you were paranoid someone was out to get you. They had never thought about you in 30 years. Yeah. This is what reasoning is doing. Yeah. Being servile and spiritless concerning the thoughts. We're being driven by those fuckers. And we have the fucking emotional, mental, physical scars to show for it. So the next one is, did we not have confidence in our ability to think? Yeah. Something got me in trouble. The cops were coming. I looked down the street. It was a dead end. My head said, take off. There was no escape from the dead end, but I had faith in the thoughts and I followed it. And I took a whipping by the cops for trying to run away. Yeah. I have ample examples to answer these questions. Just sit there for a minute or two after the talk and let those answers sink in. Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? Exactly. The thinking got me in situations which I try to think myself out of. I was using the problem to get out of the fucking problem. It was using me, really, because I was spiritless and servile. Yeah. This is the dilemma of powerlessness. For all intents and purposes, at this condition, I've been overpowered. I'm enslaved to this fucking God of reason. All right. So then the last one. Those three questions. What was that but a sort of faith? It's giving us the answer to a lot of our, how can I figure out why did I end up here? It's giving you the answer. It's not telling you the answer. It's providing 4 questions that are going to give you the answer. And they're going to name it and say it. So in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been involved all the time. All the time means anytime. When did it mention you? It didn't mention you. It's talking about faith. You're the object that the faith is moving. So there we are. Call us faith, call us trust. Perhaps there's a better way. The other way that's not working is trusting finite self. Yeah. All right. What did they say will work? Trusting the infinite. This was the glorious revelation of recovery, to find a solution to a problem and not from the problem system. Yeah. Not think ourselves out of the thing, yeah, but act ourselves out of the thing. Do the program. Break the back of this faith in the God of reasoning and do shit that you would never do because it doesn't make sense to your insane head, and just do it and you'll see what happens. You'll get results and success will build on success. And for many of us, that urge, that drive that was accompanied with the God of reason and everything will be removed. And now you'll be restored to sanity concerning the insanity that precedes the first drink. Yes? Yes. And you'll know it by its moving you. Yeah. So, I never heard this in any book study emphasized. Never. One day where I was at another book study and I heard someone say this, and then I just went right at it. And I've, like a pit bull, I haven't let it loose ever since. Must have been like 25 years ago. Yeah, to me, this is telling you really exactly the dynamic of what we call our intricate special life. Yeah. Faither is the mover of all things, yet is not a thing. Yeah. Yep. So you can't, if you try to lose faith in the self and gain faith in the infinite as the self, that's more faith in the self. Do you see that? Self cannot get out of self. So when self starts setting out on a course to lose interest in self, that's interest in self. Yeah. When your head says, I'm going to now have faith in the infinite, you better make sure that's not self-talking, because if it is, it's going to be usurping the direction of faith and be putting it into itself again, which it always fucking tries to do. Yeah. So now you'll be having faith in the finite, proclaiming you have faith in the infinite. That ain't it. It's one or the other. It's not both or neither. It's one or the other in this program of recovery. Yeah. Can't have two masters at the same time. If self is playing the role of the master and says, I'm going to gain interest in God as self, that's interest in self. That is not interest in God. It's mostly interest in self concerning or about God. Yes? Try it. Check it out. Yeah. Everything we say here has been time tested. Yeah. We've seen it. We've watched it. We've recognized how something grows when this soil and light's given to it, and how things die when they stay in this soil and this fucking light. Because this light is constantly being directed to self. It's not feeding us. It's feeding the image we think we have of us. Yes? Yeah. Yeah. Try it. I mean, if whatever. You know, when I saw something working, I saw how limited that working was being allowed to be by the bondage of self. And I would just like to have us all like a free range addict and alcoholic. Yes. So have some fucking space to run around in. And really have that existence that the problem doesn't exist as you, allowing you to have the experience the problem does not exist for you a lot. Yeah. Like every day, literally. Now, is it going to be great? I don't know. But it's sure going to be lighter than the heavy interpretation of self, for sure. So I think we filled the time up almost, no? What is
Yep.
it?
There's two hands up also.
All right, great.
First one's LB in Vegas. Going in, LB.
Hey, my grandfather's good-natured musings came to mind as I heard Paul tell his story today, and thanks for shining a light on these four questions. Very Passover-esque. So let me say this. When I got here, before I got here, I called somebody and I said, get me to a meeting through very tightly clenched teeth. Cocaine will do that to a guy like me. And I came in here and pretty much wrote the 12 steps a blank check. I wasn't thinking about faith or reasoning, but I had lost faith in my own thinking. The only thought I had was, I'm losing my mind and I need something. And I said, oh, there's that AA thing. Maybe I should call that lady and go to that place. So I did. And I haven't let up since. Well, I let up that weekend because I had to get high until the next meeting on Tuesday. But and then I would hear things like, your best thinking got you here. I'd hear that at least once a week back in the day. Don't hear it so often now. And my sponsor knows me fairly well. And he says, Al, when did you become the authority on this? And I'll close with this thought. I watched my new friends come in here, broken, whooped. And 5 minutes later, they're teaching the class. I'm like, whoa, yay, hang on there, Tiger. Hang on there, Tiger. You were broken last week, and now you're teaching the class? Whoa, slow it down a little bit here, Tiger. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? I know you've seen this. I see the nod. Or that might just be the tree shadowing you. And I'm just mystified by what's going on. I thought I was the second coming for 48 hours, and thank God that delusion passed. It's what happens when a Jew gets sober on Christmas. But that passed, thank God. It passed. But for others, I just see, I don't know how to put it, overestimating their intellectual capacity as a newcomer. That's what I'm seeing. Back to the faith in the reasoning, into the mind power that got me here in the first place. All right, that's good. That's where I'm ending, right there.
There's things of successes, though, if you just stay sober. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Lessons.
Yeah, you go through a lot of phases, and if you just stay on the same basis of sobriety, they all have great value. Yeah. So You learn from your mistakes just like you learn from your successes. So yeah, of course the head is gonna run with the new shiny object and get absorbed in it. But then you'll see that's the head, so it had value. Yeah. And then how are you gonna recognize something that you're not? By having an understanding when it reveals itself that it's not you. This is the whole point. Yeah. We use the past through an inventory, and then we use the present to bring that shit to 6 and 7. Yeah. Which is you watch self manifest or attempt to manifest in various ways. And instead of having to deal with the manifestations, you now just deal with self before its manifestations, which is awesome, tell you the truth. And you see, I'm not that. And because it's true, you are not that, you're definitely going to grow into it with all your mistakes and all your things, as long as you stay on the ball game. Yeah. Yeah. Because
I'm
it's,
hearing just, yeah, just keep trudging and it works itself out is what I'm hearing. There's no
Yeah.
substitute for the process.
of course, it works itself out. So you get to think you know a lot, then you realize you don't know anything, and then that allows you to transmit a lot. You know, a lot of things happen. Yeah.
I remember
But
those
the
old
basis-
timers.
The
I
basis it has to stay stable, which is the sobriety. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I remember those old timers. I don't know nearly as much as I knew when I got here. You know, I just get dumber every day in a smiling way, not dumber, not IQ, self-importance.
Yes, exactly. And those were, you know, what led to a lack of self-importance was an expression of self-importance quite a lot. This is how it works. Yeah. You see you're not the shadow by seeing the shadow a lot. Yeah. This is about if there's a process and it starts with without knowing it, what's going to be the next move is knowing it.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
So this is how the knowledge of self is very valuable when self-knowledge avails us nothing. The knowledge of self is extremely valuable, yet self-knowledge avails us nothing. Yeah. So now you start having the knowledge of self instead of being driven by self. You see that which used to drive you. Hallelujah. Yeah. So it's not mostly when without knowing it, you're in the back seat and it's in the driver's seat. Now you see it from the back seat, asking and trying to get into the driver's seat. Yeah. Yeah. That's the shift from without knowing it to knowing it. Yeah. Yeah. And for some of us, it's hard earned. We make a lot of fucking mistakes. Yeah. But we stay sober and things fucking work themselves out for sure.
I got a friend in the meeting. I mentioned him to you before the meeting began. He's in here. And I remembered my blind friend who died last year. 6'2", tall, good-looking black guy. He was my brother. I love him. I miss him dearly. He had a cane. If he don't tap in front of him with that cane, you can imagine what happens. And I'm like, hey, buddy, no face plants on my watch. You know, and he was an expert at the cane, and he taught other blind folks how to use the cane. But if he carried it next to him, it's ineffectual. It has nothing. There's nothing to be gained by having the tool and not utilizing it properly, wielding the tool, applying. You know.
Yes.
So I'm hoping my friend in the meeting is hearing me today and begins to use the tools, because even deep into, what is it, step 10, I need to run my thinking by spiritual advisors. Even great spiritual giants run their thinking by others so they can check themselves before they wreck themselves. There's all these tools. Yeah. I forget to use them too. Mea culpa.
Well, you admit you're blind. That's a good start.
Hmm.
And then maybe you'll have an interest in the cane.
Yes. If
Yeah.
Rico's smiling, I've done my work here today. Mike's smiling, Axel's smiling. I'm just gonna say arigato, sensei, Burdock, and it's a good one for me, dog.
All right, Al. Eat some tubers.
I'm mental for oriental. A lentil.
Eat some tubers. Yeah. All right. Well, anyone else? We have another.
Question from Kathy. Yep.
Kathy L. from Cleveland.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much. You know, when you said to ask ourselves that question, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith, and then you were telling the story about you stood at, you know, at that bar in the Monte Carlo, and there was a party that was going to happen. And I was thinking where I stood was with abject faith that nothing was going to happen, that nothing would ever get better. You know, just that I was like stuck in that life was shit and would always be shit, you know. And I see now, you know, that because of my faith in that, that's what I had. So I love this paragraph too. It is so helpful to me because I certainly thought I had all the reasoning. You know, my head was it. My head was the top of the top, you know, and I was faithful to the God of reason. So I just wanted to say that, you know, answering those questions has been helpful to me to see that I got what I had faith in, and that was nothing, you know, that nothing was going to happen. And so nothing did happen until it did. But so thank you.
You're welcome, Kathy. Yes. Yeah. I feel every time there's a question in the book, it's meant to trigger going into your own memories of things, because obviously, if you're an active alcoholic and addict, you had limited patterns. Yeah. You did a lot of the same things, a lot of the same times. Yeah.
Mhm.
And through those patterns, you can see what has defeated you. And again, recognizing something in the past may give you the eyes to see it in the present. Yeah, this is the importance of inventory.
Mhm.
And you hope that, just like in step 6 and 7, you could bring something that has been dead for a couple of weeks and turn it over. But as you keep going, you catch it right out of the oven faster. So some of the life that the self is trying to steal from you is still pulsing. You give it a 6 and 7, and that life is given back to you. And you feel like there's more living. Yeah.
Yeah.
While you're living. So it's a reclamation process. The inventory hopefully gives us the eye to see that which has defeated us. And then when we can see it, getting ready to do something, we can bring that to 6 and 7 and sort of melt all the shit of the self all around it and keep the gold, so to speak. Yeah. And to me, that's 6 and 7. I find it in the dreaming at night. I have a pattern of dreaming that I seem to remember a lot when it happens. Is I won't go into details, but when I wake up from that dream, and it's this, I've had it many, many times, I just bring it to 6 and 7 and ask that power to reconfigure it and milk out something out of it. Then the head's definitely trying to milk something out of it. Yeah, so this is a living process. The more living of it, it'll look like less of a process. Yeah. And more like living. But there's all different ways. At first, we need to see it. We need to do it and get into the habit of doing it so that the condition that's underneath it all starts shining through. So I don't look really that much to do service, but I feel like I'm of service now, which means a lot of things show up. And I like that shift. Yeah, so where I did a lot of gratitude lists, and now I don't do any gratitude lists because I feel like the attitude of gratitude has been reinstalled. Yeah. And so on and so forth. So a lot of the processes I used to do are part of the working event now. So they're not even a process anymore. They've been assimilated to the whole movement. Yeah. And yeah. And I think that's the point. I don't want to be a master of inventories. I want to outgrow the need to do an inventory. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to have, I don't want to live in resentment or anxiety and shit so that I have to do inventories about it. Yeah. I think the success of an inventory is when you don't need to do them anymore. But you can't skip that doing of it. That's the point. There's the doing of the inventories that may lead to a point where you don't do inventories that much. But doing the inventories is the starting point. Yeah, you can't go to the other point without doing inventories, I feel. Everyone wants a faster way, but time may be the perfect essence for the growth to be undisturbed. Yeah. If you had a radical shift, you could have a psychic break. Yeah. AA works on you in a slow manner, in a sense, so that the rest of you doesn't flip out from the changes. Yeah. So
I heard from a very wise woman on this meeting here that we work the steps until the steps work us.
yes, definitely.
And
Exactly.
I see that. I understand what you're saying here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes even farther than that. Yeah. It'll go as the steps in you will not be able to be seen as working or not working.
Mm.
I mean, this tattoo becomes permanent, but you don't see it on the skin. The ink sinks in. Yeah, you don't need the tattoo on the skin anymore. You've been tattooed.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's, yeah. So,
Yeah, thank you. I like what you say about traveling lighter.
well, yeah, for sure.
I feel that. I feel
Great.
that.
Yeah, because we've all had enough traveling heavy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, when you're traveling heavy and you don't believe you deserve the misfortune, you just get fucking resentful. And then there's not even a resentment anymore. There's an attitude of resentful. And that can be played into a lot of hate and shit and divisiveness. You can see it in our society, literally. So people they're just resentful now. It's just, they're full of resent. Yeah. It's fucking incredible. But hey, there is a solution. That's the good news. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Well, anyone else, or we'll just take off soon?
There's one more hand up, Mike M.
Bring Mike M in here. Mike M.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. Hi, Al. When I first started doing the work, I remember, well, a couple of different times I've done the work, I was told to look at my drinking career, right? Like, when did it start? When did it peak? When did I try to stay stopped? When did I try to control it? Which I think had value. but I was never really told to look at my thinking career, you know? And that's what I think we do here, is I get to look at every method that I've tried with this, you know, the production value that has come from this self, this entity, separate, obviously, to see the failure of that. And at first, that's kind of painful because, you know, I take pride in myself. I was told all this stuff about self growing up, you know, self confidence, self pride. But who would ever think to look at self this way, except for somebody who's had their fucking ass handed to them by heroin, by cocaine, by alcohol? Because that there's a sweetly reasonable thing that starts to happen based on not wanting to live under the lash of this fucking mechanism anymore. And that's what's beautiful. Every time I come on here, I feel like there's these little spiritual fizzling pops that happen, and that happen in seeing the failed system. What? Come on. That's not what I learned in therapy. You got this. You can do it. No, you're not a failure. Get out there and kick the world in the balls. Like, it's so great to know that it's, and I wrote this down. We were asking these beautiful questions, man. They just dovetail, right? It's not about what I'm thinking. It's about what it's thinking. You know, like, I've had such ownership over this thinking for so long. And there's this kind of situational awareness that starts to occur. It's like, all right, what's that little motherfucker up to now? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I see what it's up to, and I'm like, not interested. That's my mantra most of the time throughout the day. Not interested. Not interested. And you bring this out, man. You bring this out. I've listened to some other non-dual stuff, but it's that language of the heart. I know you're a real one. I know you shot fucking coke and drank vodka. I smoked coke and drank vodka. And I know you were brought to those depths of hell. And it's really in that language of the heart, in that first step, that I know I don't think you're fucking lying to me, brother. I feel that shit coming through. And that's what this is, man. It really is about attraction. You know what I mean? And I'm attracted to this message. I'm attracted to what Al has to say. I'm attracted to this group in here. Because if we suffered from that first step experience, whether it's the first half or the second half, it's impossible to not see this failed system if you come around here for a minute. And if you've been in and out, if you're a chronic relapser or were a chronic relapser. So thanks for laying it down, buddy.
Well, the thing is, we all have had enough evidence to be convinced for fucking lifetimes. And so that's the heavy lifting. We've all done it ourselves. The lightness of the message is that it's not you. Really. And that's an easy one to deliver. It really is. It doesn't come with a huge book. We have a book. It doesn't come with us, an advanced pamphlet. We don't need it. Just recognize what has defeated you is foreign to you. And that opens up the door of the possibility that you can be free from it, which is truly a strong possibility. How's it going to look? I don't know. That's the joy of it. You'll have to find out for you. I'd hate to ruin it for you by telling you how it looks to me, because it's probably going to look different where you are. Yeah, but the thing that has defeated us is the same. That we can describe confidently, because I think it looks exactly the same in all of us. But how the freedom is going to look is going to be your own artistic project. You're not going to be the artist. You're going to be the canvas and the paint and the brush. You are going to be used. Yes, it's cool. Very cool. All right, thanks. I'm going to say goodbye, I guess. Mike, as always, thank you very much. Michael Stacy, as always. By the way, we have a meeting at 4:30 Pacific time today. I should have saved my voice a little bit, but hey, whatever. It's not my voice, as they say. It's used. So we'll be here again. And you can find our events, the Zooms on Zen Bitch Slap event. And the same access is good for every meeting, and there's no password. Okay, so Martin, thank you for all your help with this website and everything. Axel, your fellowship, Vegas, your fellowship, Terry, Marl, Kathleen in Pennsylvania, not Delaware, very important. Rico, John, Florida, Kathy, Cleveland. I've been watching you, Kathy, for these years. We got Diona. Oh, nice to meet you, Diona. Very nice. Mickey, as always, Roman, Joseph C. Joseph, you moved her a little bit, eh? That's cool. Rick Rowe, Toronto, Miss Volkman, Tom M., Robert, Greg B., Oliver in Berlin, Walter, Netherlands, Chance, XIX. That's pretty good. Let's see what else we got. We got phone numbers, Ben, Stephanie, Albert, Fletch. There you go. I hope to see you soon, today or whenever. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to
Thanks,
share
Paul.
time with you.
Thank you.